All right, so there's our first cut, and we just cut that with a 2000 wet sandpaper rolled up around a block. I went over how to roll this in another video. If you want to go back when we originally cut and buff Randy's car, I gave some good pointers on how to roll that paper on your block to utilize all the sides. But that's your first just 2000 cut. Let's see here, that's that is a piece of trash. Okay, so we got a little piece of trash there. We need to go back and get out, and then I think we had 1 or 2 right there. You can see in the light. We got 2 right there, maybe 1 right there. So that's just the first real quick over of it. There's 1 right there. Okay, so now we're gonna flip our paper around and put a fresh side of paper up, and we're gonna probably just hit it 1 more time with 2000, and then after that it should be good, where we're gonna move into a 3000 and then go on with the buffing. So on your paper, if it's rolled up like this is how you roll it from the first time, and you're sanding on this side. This is actually my black side down, my gray side up. Gray side's softer than the black, so all I do is I unroll it so that I can utilize a new piece, which would have been right there, because that piece right there is up inside the paper, so it hasn't been used. So I'll unroll it, I'll shift my block to this side of the paper, and now I will roll that. This is my used area first. I'll roll it back up, and now we have new paper right there with black side still down. So we're gonna wet this up and cut it again. All right, so that's your second cut of 2000, and we're gonna move on to a 3000 Trizac. So this is what we're using this morning, just these little square pads that I picked up. They were actually on clearance. I just normally take whatever I can get for cheap, because the Trizac stuff is actually really expensive if you go buy it. There's the part number of what we're using. Normally it goes on a special block, but I'm not spending the money on those freaking special blocks. So we're just gonna try to balance it on this little block and get this thing done. So it's not this thing with some 3000, and then we're gonna move into buffing. All right, so here we are, got the hood wet sanded. Had to hit the he doesn't want to talk now. He was over there talking about some spark plugs on a Jeep. So we had to knock these runs out that Eddie put in the front. We had to get them with 1000. If you go back to the video where it painted, I showed you that I had some sags. It wasn't runs. They never actually ran. It just sagged and stopped. So we had 2 sags across the front, knocked them out with 1000, and then took a block and wet sanded over the whole thing. I'm not going to sit here and show you all the wet sanding process because that's pretty boring. So now we're just going to get this thing dried off and then buff it and see what it looks like. So Randy has said that he doesn't mind buffing at all on it, so I might take him up on that, but I told him either way I was going to get basically the bulk of it done. I wanted to run over it with 2000 and put my buff on it. I'm not the greatest at buffing, but at least if I run over it and get a shine back to it, then if he wants to buff over it, at least he doesn't have to wet sand. So the wet sand is the messy part, and time consuming. So at least if I get this knocked out, then he can just run over it with whatever compound steps he wants to do. So let's get it dried off, and then we're gonna put a buff on it. Alright, so there's the hood. We got the cut and buff put over it, and it is nowhere near perfect. I actually just shot Randy a text. You can see right there the dullness in the reflection. Told him that he's just gonna have to do a once over on it before it's done, which he had actually already called me this weekend and told me that he don't mind picking them up and doing all the wet sanding buffing on them himself. But I'm gonna look into some different products, because as slow as I'm buffing, this stuff should be, you know, getting it 100% out, and the stuff that I'm using is just not cutting it. You know, in some areas, like it's just like it's right in there, needs to be gone over again, and I'll probably actually go ahead and hit that. Everywhere else is decent. I mean, it's pretty solid. Outside, you absolutely won't see none of this because the sun will be so bright. Inside the shop, you can see a lot of it, but I mean, it looks amazing overall, but just, you know, there's some spots that take a lot more work. So everything else actually looks good. I guess I'm gonna go over this nose one more time, because you can just see right there. All that, and then it like goes back away. So maybe it just needs a little bit more cut compound on it. You know, it's not as bad nowhere near as it is up there. And like I said, if you put this in the sunlight, like, you absolutely will not see this because of the reflection of the sun. But I can see it in here. I don't even know if you can see it on your TV. But yeah, that's the hood. So I'm gonna put one more buff on this front area right here with some cut compound, and then polish that back out, and then that's good to go. So I ran back over them areas with the white pad. So what I basically done is the wool pad first, and then I jumped straight to the wax pad. And on the last one, whenever I did the trunk, you know, I tried what Randy come in and done, and he did the white foam pad and then the black pad, and it looked amazing. But now the more I think about it, I had already done this on the actual car shell. I had done the wool pad and the black pad, and we still had marks. And then he come in, did the foam pad and the black pad again, and it looked amazing. That's basically 3 steps. So I did this, he did that, and then he done that again. And then today, I did on the hood, I did the wool pad and this, wasn't happy. So I went back and added the white foam pad back into it, and then the polish pad, and got amazing results. So it's like my setup, I can't get around all 3 steps. So normally, unless it's a dark color, you don't have to do this one. You're supposed to be able to go just wool pad to polish. But for some reason, for me to get the flawless results that I want, it's all 3 steps. And I am cutting with a 2000 versus like a 2500. So if you cut with like a 2500 wet sandpaper, then that might even cut this one out. Or you can cut this one out and just do these 2. But it seems like what's working for me at the moment is I have to do all 3 steps, meaning I have to buff every panel 3 times to get the results that I actually want, even though in the sun it'll be flawless. So that's it now. Let's walk this light right here over this thing, and you can still slightly see some of that stuff, but it's nowhere near like it was just a second ago. So it greatly improved it. It looks 100 times better. So for some reason, I've just got to do 3 steps, and I think I need to step up the product and get a little bit better of a product than what I am using. But this is what we're working with. So like I said, once it gets out of this stupid garage and is out in the sun, this thing will literally look flawless. Even though it's pretty close to flawless, and y'all probably literally, I'm gonna hear the comments that it's just a race car. And that's a fiberglass hood, so it's pretty actually impressive. Pretty freaking straight. Carbon fiber hood, I'm sorry, not fiberglass. But I just wanted to kind of show you all the reflection so you know that there's not like I'm just skimming over it real fast and like trying to hide anything. But y'all should know by now that I don't really hide stuff. But that's that. So move on to getting these doors together, getting them buffed out of here, or get them buffed and getting them out of here too. So you can still see it right in there. So I don't know. I think we just need, which I have not did the white pad on none of this. This is just wool and black pad. All right, so we just got our doors back. You can see that we have the black done now around the edge. It's still drying out and curing. As it cures out, It will flatten. This was a hot rod black product that was used on top of these, so it gives it that satin hot rod black look to them. So from the factory, the top of the frames are supposed to be black. They are red on the inside, so we're trying to keep it true to what it's supposed to be. So you have everything red, and then you just have the outsides, you know, black. And this also helps that if you see anything through when your window is buttoned up, you know, being the window has a black banner around it. Now this is black. The flange is black. If there's any variance in the optic armor or anything, it just makes everything look really, really good. Going with black. So the doors look absolutely beautiful. I mean, they just turned out absolutely amazing. You don't see where the door handle used to be. All that blocking that we did definitely paid off. You can see down this one when we walk the light down this one that it's just, I mean, absolutely beautiful. Like, y'all know that I show you my flaws and I show you my failures, and I could care less. And I'm just telling you that these just turned out absolutely amazing. Like, there's nothing else to it. So, you know, I mean, you can see, man, it's just freaking. They have a little bit of wave and distortion in them because it is a fiberglass part, but I mean, they are freaking glass, man. I mean, that is a fiberglass door or carbon fiber door. You can see the waves up there in the reflection. So even down here on the rockers, that's the rockers down low. I mean, that's your reflection. So absolutely amazing. Randy's gonna be stoked with these things. I mean, they're just, man, speechless. So probably gonna show putting one door together. I don't have the optic armor for the other one, so I'm gonna time lapse probably putting it together, putting the hinges back in it, show you what Mike did on them, even though he did a video, I'm sure, on the hinges. I'm not even 100% sure if he put them up. All right, so we got the glass put back in the window, or the optic armor, and that's pretty much going to be a wrap on these. So we still got some odds and ends to do on them. Randy's picking them up this afternoon, so I've just straight up ran out of time. Need to get the correct hardware for the strikers. Basically, it had all mismatched hardware. This is the correct bolt that goes in your door latch. But somehow, somewhere along the lines, they have got lost. So what he had was like one door that had two correct bolts, and then one that worked, and then another door that was just complete mismatch. And then at the racetrack, we also had put some in there that were just like wrong thread last summer at Darlington. When the door started acting up, me and Mike actually fixed it at the track, and we had to just work with what we had. So I've put him tape across. I put one bolt in and put him tape across here to remind to basically don't be putting these doors on the car, slamming them until we get till the correct hardware is put in them. So he'll just have to run up to your local hardware store and grab some tapered head machine, you know, flat head bolts like that. They probably should be switched to like a Star Torx bit, but recommendations. Also need steel springs, so I went ahead and put a note on here that we need springs for the handle. Basically, the handle doesn't spring back. There's no spring in the system, so it just, if you look at it, it literally just moves. Like there's really no spring back. There's a little bit of spring on the latch itself, but you really need a spring hooked from the handle to the door to help it stay in the position that you want. Because I had one door where, if you look back when we were fitting the doors, when you opened it with your finger, it would stay in that position. So when you went to close it, it actually would just bounce because it actually wouldn't go back. So if it had a spring on it, it would pull the latch back into, or the handle back into the position that you needed it for to open and not do that issue. So we're going to, he has the glass, Randy took the glass out the other door, so we're going to send it like this, and I'll just put the one bolt holding the latch in and make a note on the hardware on this one and the spring on this one, and I'll go ahead and take this tape off of all this And I'll show you the product that we actually used on these frames right here. So they have like a, like a flat sheen to them, kind of like the factory has. And we didn't spend a lot of time touching up really like nicks and stuff around the door frames because they're just not really seen. But the product that was used on them, if you want to use it yourself, is actually this Hot Rod Black. So there's the part number. We did the golf cart on with this some of this stuff, and if you watch that golf cart video, I go more in depth on mixing it and spraying it. These were just little frames, so we're not making a big deal about them, but I did want to show you what we did the frames with. If you don't want to use a paint that you shoot out of the gun and you just want to kind of rattle can it, I'd highly recommend using, let's see if Eddie has me some in stock, trim and bumper paint again. So we went over this multiple times on this channel also. So this is going to look excellent if you want to trim out the top around your doors with some rattle can stuff. You can pick this up at your local Advance or whatever. This is going to give it that factory black sheen and make it where it doesn't look like terrible spray paint. So we're going to stick these hinges back on the car. These are aluminum hinges that Mike repaired. He did some stuff to them. I'm not really going to go in depth over them, but Mike fixed them. They were messed up. Go check out Mike's channel if you want to see how to repair the hinge, especially if yours are cracked and sagging, which I showed in a past video of Randy's. I showed the issues with these, how they had cracks and how the door was sagging, and the whole time we were fitting, we were dealing with a sagging door when the issue was half the issue was in these hinges needed to be fixed and do a better design. So look back in the Randy videos and you'll see us going over these damages, and then check out Mike's channel, and he'll eventually have the video up of repairing these, of how to do it if you wanted to repair them or hire somebody to repair them yourself. So again, same issue with the latches. We've got a bunch of mixed matched hardware. So it really needs to be sorted out and the correct stuff got, but this is what we've got to work with. This is what all come out of holding this stuff together. So, but we're just going to get it back on the car, and then Randy can hit the hardware store one Saturday or, one night or something, or Lowe's, and get the correct bolts if he wants and put them all in. I'm just going to basically put them back together like we took them apart. So the hinges are back on it, and this side had actually a whole set of the 4 tapered things, so that's perfect. It's the other side that was just thrown together with literally random bolts. So that was literally the 4 bolts that was picked to hold the other side together. The only thing that we don't have on this one is this side had no lock washers. When we took it apart on the inside, it had no lock washers on the back of it. So I went ahead and put them together, so everything's there, nothing is lost, but lock washers need to be added to that, and I'm going to go ahead and make a note on the side of the door for that also. But I think that's going to be it. Like I said, this one's just going to be the same thing, throwing in the hardware, and then he'll pick these up, and at some point these final little tiny details are going to have to be addressed. So that's the hood is getting picked up this afternoon. We already went over that. 2 doors. The Pro Charger mouthpiece that goes in the front, one piece is in the office. That was sprayed black yesterday, so that is all done. The only thing I got left is the 2 moldings that go down the quarter panel behind the back tires. So them have not been sprayed. They need to be sprayed red. Besides that, I think all the paint work is finally done on this thing. He's got this thing off with some other people. I'm not going to disclose where the car's at or what he's got going on, because I don't know how much info he wants people to know. But it's not here. So at some point, everything will get finally put together, and then I'll try to get a video up of the whole car assembled whenever I can finally get back my hands on it. The front piece also, we still have not got a wet sand and buff on it. So that thing got sprayed, if you look back at that video, and then it got carried out of here for fitment. So that still needs to be wet sanded and buffed. I know some of y'all keep asking about, how much more is left on this stuff, and that's basically where we're at. So like, comment, subscribe, share. Make sure you smash that notification button so you can get updated whenever we do post more videos of this car, or whenever I finally get it back in my possession to put it together. Thanks, y'all.